What's going on, y'all? It's your boy, the only Juan, back with another banger. So in this video, I'm going to be talking about how to wholesale real estate. This is going to be real estate wholesale 101, wholesale real estate. I'm going to be talking about the fundamentals, basically just how to get started. So I'm not going to go too much into detail. This information is going to be good for anyone that just wants to get the ball rolling. They heard of the concept, but they don't know where to get started. This information is for you. Before we get started, I wanted to lead this video with a prayer. Bow your heads with me, right? Dear God, we come to you today as humble servant leaders. Bless this information and those who receive it. May it be used as a tool to help others. May your will be done. Amen. Let's go. All right, so we're going to start off this video by first touching up on the concept of wholesale real estate, right? So wholesale real estate is the process of getting an agreement to purchase a property at a discount, then assigning all of those rights to that property, right, to an investor or an end buyer for more than what you agreed to purchase it for. And that difference, what you agreed to purchase it in the beginning to what you then agreed to sell it to an investor, that difference is called an assignment fee. That's basically wholesale real estate right there. I'm gonna break it all down into 4 stages. First stage is building a system, right? So you have to have a system before diving in. Like it'll be a bad idea to just start going out there and knocking on doors or talking to people and asking them if they want to sell. What if they say yes, but you don't know what else to do? You know, all you know is that you need to buy low, sell high. You know, that's all you know. So you need to have a system in place so that you don't waste your time, you don't waste anyone else's time. This thing doesn't implode in your face, right? First step to this is make sure you have a process or a system. First step to building a process or a system is finding a title agent. Reaching out to different title companies. Go on Google Maps, just type in title company, see what pops up, right? But before you go knocking on everyone's doors, make sure you give them a call first. Their representative should know basically what goes down in that whole office. So make sure you call them first and ask them if they have any agents that deal with wholesale transactions that have assignment fees. The receptionist doesn't know what you're talking about. You should ask to see if you can talk to an agent that's available there. You tell them you have a question about a transaction. And once you talk to an agent, ask them the same question. You know, have you ever dealt, or do you know anyone in that office that deals with wholesale transactions that have assignment fees, right? If they don't know what you're talking about, run the other way. You know, it wouldn't make sense to just kind of try to explain it to them what it means. If they don't know, because that's basically the universal lingo, right? If they don't know what it means, then they don't do it, right? So move on, talk to another agency or another title company. Other good platforms to look at when you're looking for a title agent is Facebook. You can type in, you know, title agent, and it'll give you a list. You could go on LinkedIn. You can search for title agents and it'll give you a list there. And you can just start messaging people, right? Asking them, have you ever dealt with wholesale real estate transactions with assignment fees, you know? And once you find those, they'll say, yeah, you know, like I do deal with those types of transactions. Those are the ones that you want to talk to. Once you find a title agent, right, the next step is to establish communication, right? So once they tell you, yeah, you know, we do those types of transactions, you then ask them, okay, what information do you need from me and from the seller? They'll basically just give you a rundown and everything that they need. And if they don't tell you, ask them if they have any forms specific to their title agency. Some title agencies require for you to use their forms for authorization to release loan information or their confidentiality statements, basically like an identity form. Usually title companies, they'll do this for you. They'll reach out to the seller and have them fill out those forms. But you asking for it and having it right there when you meet the seller and after he signs your purchase agreement, having him fill out those forms will reduce transaction friction by a lot. I've had a lot of people or a lot of transactions run into a hiccup just because the seller didn't really trust the whole process. They didn't want to give more information out. They'll tell you things like, oh, I thought that I was going to be working with you. Why do I need to give this stranger all of this information, right? So it'll reduce friction, trust me. So make sure you get those forms from the title company. That way you can reduce transactional friction. Also, you should ask your title agent if there's a minimum requirement for earnest money to open escrow. Some different companies have different policies. Some don't require any. Some require a minimum of $100. You'll need that dollar amount, that minimum, when you're writing up your purchase agreements, right? Because you don't want to give $100 of your own money tied up on escrow for nothing if you don't need to, right? So I always like to ask that question if they have any minimums as far as earnest money deposit to open escrow. Also, make sure you ask the title agent how they will be giving you updates. Some title agencies have apps that will give you automatic notifications to give you a status or what stage your transaction is currently on, and that comes in handy, right? So ask them how often are they going to give you a status update. What would be the best form to communicate with that agent? If they can give you their personal number, that'll be great. The front office number, all their emails, whatever it may be. You have to make sure that you're able to contact that agent should anything happen in their transaction. Next step into developing that process is making sure that you have the purchase agreement, okay? So you can go online and basically just search purchase agreement for real estate, or real estate purchase agreement, and that's state specific to you, right? Good way that you can get a purchase agreement is by simply just asking the title company that you're working with if they can provide you a blank purchase agreement for a recent wholesale transaction that had an assignment fee on it. You know, different title companies have different policies. Some can give it to you, others can't. If they don't feel comfortable doing that, you can reach out to another wholesaler in your community and ask them if they can give you a copy. You can find wholesalers by joining wholesale groups on Facebook, LinkedIn. You know, you can put wholesaler fix and flipper on LinkedIn. You could also, you know, DM me. You know, I'll send you one. My handle is @TheOnlyJuanLopez. So you can DM me on Instagram. I'll gladly send you a copy. Full disclaimer, I would suggest running it by a lawyer. That way you feel like you're comfortable using it, you know? Don't just take my word for it just because I'm using it. So yeah, DM me, I'll hook you up, no problem. So now that you have the forms from title, right, which is usually the authorization to release loan information, the confidentiality statement or the statement of ID, and you have your purchase agreement, now you're going to need an assignment agreement. This contract is to basically say that the investor will assume all of the terms of the original agreement and their purchase amount. That purchase amount will be the total of the original purchase amount plus your assignment fee, right? So let's say that you got a property at $150,000, you want to sell it to an investor is willing to buy it for $160,000, then your assignment fee by default, you know, is $10,000. On my assignment contract, I don't specifically state that my assignment fee is $10,000. I like to personally do it that way because most investors, they won't go back to the original contract and then back to what they're buying it for and do the math and say, hey, like, why are you making $10,000, and try to bring down your assignment fee. I have had more investors, you know, try to negotiate my assignment fee if it's right there in bold on the assignment contract where it says that $10,000 is going to me, right? So that's why I switched it up, I changed it that way, and it's been working better for me. So now that you have the two forms from title, your purchase agreement, your assignment agreement, hopefully this goes without saying, but make sure you have an active bank account, okay? The title company isn't gonna pay you cash. You need to have a bank account so that they can write a check to or wire the money to, you know? If you have an LLC, and I've seen people do this, they start an LLC, they go and they get something under contract, they sell it, they write the check to them, and they don't have a bank account. They totally forgot, they skipped that step, right? So make sure you have a bank account, and you don't need an LLC to do wholesale real estate. You can do it under your own name. Most people like doing it with an LLC simply because if shit hits the fan, right, they can just separate, you know, your personal and your business, right? And that's what you want, is you want full separation of liability from your personal and your business. You don't want the other party going after you for all your personal stuff too, you know? Make sure you have a bank account, okay? Now that we have the process, which is stage one, now we're going into stage two, which is acquisitions and marketing. Look for prospects that are in a position to sell at a discount, meaning that they need to have enough equity in their property or opportunity for you and the investor. So one rule of thumb that I like to follow to make sure that I have a good property in my hands that I can wholesale is I find the after repair value of that property, right? So that's ARV, right? let's say that the property has an ARV of 200,000, okay? Let's say that after repair value, it's worth 200,000. What I would do then is I would offer anywhere between 50 to 70 cents to the dollar from that value, right? So my offer, I like to start low just to kind of get some feelers. You don't want to shoot yourself in the leg and offer more than what they were actually expecting for the property, right? So what I would do, or what I like to use as an anchor, is 45 cents to the dollar, right? So my starting offer would be 90,000, right? My max allowable offer, MAO, right? MAO is no more than 70 cents to that, right? So 70% of that, it would be 140K. That's my max allowable, right? So this is kind of like what you're working with. I'm gonna make another video showing you how to comp properties. So make sure you subscribe and stay tuned for that video. So how do you find people in this position? So there's a couple of ways that you can do that. You can reach out to your title company, the title company that you're working with. They all have a marketing department, right? Because you are the procurer of the transaction. Title companies don't get paid unless they get deals. They work transactions. I would recommend reaching out to their marketing department, asking if they can send you a high equity vacant list, okay? So this list, it's good to have, but you are gonna need a marketing budget for it, right? You're gonna need a budget to skip trace. I'm gonna do a separate video basically breaking down how to virtual wholesale, right? Because that's considered virtual wholesaling, where you skip trace a list, you either cold call, text blast, email campaign, whatever, that list. Separate video is coming, so make sure you subscribe for that. That way you get a notification whenever I drop that video. So a more cost-efficient approach would be to partner up with a realtor. When I first started wholesale real estate, I was actually a licensed realtor, so I already had access to all the programs. So what you can do is you can partner up with a realtor and ask them if they can send you all of the a fresh list every morning of all the pre-foreclosure homes. That list is basically just gonna give you all the houses that are going into pre-foreclosure, and ask them if they can filter out any houses that were purchased in the last, 3 years. That's kind of like the rule of thumb that I like to use. A lot has changed in the market in 3 years. They've paid down their mortgage. That means they have more equity. Not only that, the market's changed significantly in Arizona, so they have more equity, or their properties are worth more in some areas. So that's kind of like the rule of thumb I like to go off of, and also to filter out any properties that are currently being listed on the MLS. I actually got my first 100K in wholesale assignments purely off of this strategy, just door knocking the pre-foreclosure list every single day, relentlessly. One common denominator that I had with all my transactions is that I was the first one there. So that was one common denominator of all the transactions that I closed. I was the first one there offering them a solution. Reach out to a realtor, partner up with the realtor, let them in on what you're doing, and basically just work together, So that's gonna be the most cost efficient way to do it. It sucks, I know, like door knocking, especially in Arizona being out in the heat, it sucks. Like I hated it, but it works, it really works. I'm gonna do another video on the biggest transaction I've ever had that cost me $0 marketing dollars. It cost me nothing, basically just the price to drive around, the price of gas. So keep an eye out for that video, that's coming real soon. Now that we have stage 1, which is building a system, stage 2, which is acquiring, now we're gonna go to stage 3, which is disposition and marketing. Now that you have a property under contract, you need to find an investor that wants to buy it. So this is how I found my first investor. I became good friends with the title agent, and title agents see everything. They know the buying party, they know the selling party, they know who's collecting the assignment fee, they know everything. It took me 5 months, by the way, to get my first assignment fee, and that's for another video, right? But when I got my first property under contract, I reached out to my title agent and I asked him, hey, I know you probably see a lot of these transactions go through. Do you know anyone that would be interested in buying this property, right? And he said, actually, yeah, I do know one. He just bought 3 this month, he bought 5 last month, and he's actively buying in this area. And right off the bat, I know that I'm working with an end buyer. I'm not working with someone that's gonna daisy chain the deal. This guy has immediate credibility because I trust the title agent that I'm working with. So that title agent made that connection, and it was actually, honestly, one of the easiest transactions after that. I know it took me 5 months, but after that, it was pretty easy. But if your title agent acts weird and they don't know anybody that wants to pick it up, what you could do is you can go to wholesale groups on Facebook and post the property there. If you're gonna post the property somewhere public like Facebook. Avoid putting any pictures of the property. I would avoid putting the whole address there. And the only things that I would focus on posting is basically anywhere along this line. I have a flip opportunity for an investor. It's a 3-2, 1,600 square feet. It's located on 51st Ave and Baseline. Those are the major crossroads. It needs about 10,000 in rehab. Asking price 150. Boom, that's it. Just text. And you're gonna have a bunch of people reaching out to you, right? Email me the details, DM me or PM me, whatever, right? That's a good way to do it. Other places to post that and find investors are Instagram and LinkedIn, right? I like LinkedIn, and I've actually sold a couple of properties on LinkedIn to investors that were on LinkedIn, so don't sleep on LinkedIn. And if for some reason you've tried those two and they don't seem to work out, another way that you can find an investor that might want to purchase your property is you can go to the realtor that you partnered up with. Hopefully you partnered up with one, right? You can go to the realtor that you partnered up with and ask them if they can search for any houses that were recently sold by an investor, that was purchased by an investor, rehab, and then sold in that area. Realtors can find this, or they have the software to find this information. They can give you the name of the LLC. So basically that's all you're looking for, right? Is the name of the LLC. Then what you can do is you can go online, search that LLC. You can go to opencorporates.com, see if they have any information posted there, any contact information posted there. And if you can't get a hold of them, then you can go back to your realtor and ask them, hey, can you check to see if this LLC has purchased any new properties in this month. Again, they have the software to go look for all that information. And if they give you like an address, you can go to that job site to see if there's work being done to it, and go talk to the workers and ask them if they can give you the contact information for the owner of the LLC. I actually found a really good buyer. You know, I've sold multiple properties to him. I found him that way. I basically just searched his LLC to see if he purchased any new properties, because I saw that he purchased some in the area where I had my wholesale property. And I went to the job site, I asked for contact information. The dude was cool about it. He gave me his contact information. I called him up and I told him that I had another property that he might be interested in, right? And usually, like, they don't care where you got their information. You're basically bringing them a deal where they can make more money. You're bringing them money on a platter. You know, they're not gonna turn you away, right? Especially if they like the deal. So don't be afraid to go out there and try that type of strategy, okay? Now that we have stage one, which is the system, stage two, which is acquisitions, stage three, which is disposition. Now we're in stage four, it's time to get paid, okay? This whole process usually takes anywhere between 7 to 14 days, but do prepare for it to be like it. Sometimes it can be more. I've had deals that lasted 3 months before they actually got closed, because of some discrepancy on title. You know, something happens. Just be prepared for the worst, but on average it's anywhere around 14 days. But basically this is just the tip of the iceberg. There's so much you can do in wholesale real estate. You can sub to properties. You can do a hybrid flip. You know, it's endless what you can do, right? There's so many ways that you can purchase a property, so many different opportunities. But this is just the tip of the iceberg. So that wraps up this video. Hopefully this information gives you that sense of direction that you've been looking for, that confidence that you've been looking for, to give you that push to just go start and doing this, right? You don't need to wait to get an LLC. You don't need to wait to get business cards, right? You can start doing this right now, going out there, door knocking, right? Just make sure that you get a bank account up and running, right? Like I don't know anyone that doesn't have a bank account. You have a personal, like I mentioned before, you can purchase these properties under your name. Like I mentioned before, make sure you subscribe and hit that notification bell. That way you get notification when I drop another video. I'm gonna be talking about the biggest deal that I've gotten with zero marketing dollars, and drop another video on how to build your buyers list, because right there, just having a buyers list is capital in and of itself, right? You can get paid by connecting a wholesaler with a buyer, right? So I'm gonna drop another video like that. Hopefully this was very informative, and we'll see you to the next one. Let's go.